Well, anyway, what was interesting for me, it's first of all to observe this collective exercise of Russian intellectual in front of the Spanish and international audience in English. Because I mostly know how these people are expressing themselves in Russian, because I know most of them, of course, quite well, and I know their strengths, their capacity to analysis, their intellectual charm. But of course, panel discussion, it's unusual genre for the Russian context. Scientific paper, yes, but reactive, short, laconic, sniper shooting speech, it's unusual. And of course I was obviously conscious that they're a little bit naive sometimes, that they don't know how to prepare laconic and strong statement. They were sometimes a little bit too academic according to my knowledge of the specificity of the panel discussion genre. But in general, I want to believe that the audience got that something is going on in Russia in its critical consciousness, that there are people who perhaps are not very efficient in public discussion, but they have something to say, they're trying something to say, they're honestly trying to explain something, what they are living, and what they are living with critical consciousness. I'm currently coming to ARCO from the end of 90s. So I saw many fairs. I saw fairs of Rosina. I saw fairs of Lourdes. And now I saw the first time the fair of my friend Carlos Uros. Well, I have to say that also previous directors, I used to have with them human relations, and they used to be my friends in some way. So if I have in comparison to judge this fair, I would say that I have a very positive feeling. Of course, I noticed that it became smaller. The size, it became smaller. And I perfectly understand why. Because of the economy, mostly. Because importance of ARCO for the international audience was that is a major art fair in the South Europe. So size was crucially important for ARCO. From this point of view, I'm conscious that diminishing of size, changing a lot. But in the same time, what ARCO got, it's the quality. From my point of view, quality in comparison, for example, to some previous editions increased. And this is very positive. And this is, it means that despite economical crisis, art fair did not came in compromise with, let's say, with less high quality, with less interesting and less important, less interesting galleries. And this is, from my point of view, it's very that ARCO is trying to keep quality. I think this is a important value of this particular edition. Well, as a Russian, I appreciated a lot Russian participation. Because, well, the idea to do Russia, to invite Russia as a major guest of the fair, I was discussing just with Rosina 6 years ago. So this is an old idea that was rediscussed after, and finally it's realized now. I have to say that when I was called by Carlos and announced that they want to do it, well, first of all, I immediately understood that this is going on because of the combination with a political program of Russia as a guest, Russia as a Russian cultural year in Spain. So I perfectly understood that. Well, in some way, this is inevitable. But in comparison to the previous years, when I was much more enthusiastic about the perspective to have Russia as a guest, because that time Russian situation was much more interesting according to my understanding. It was much more to show. I would say that from my point of view it's one of the most coherent, intelligent representation of the Russian artistic context outside Russia, which I saw, observed and participated in the last years. We have an explosion of new institutions which wants to be, from the very beginning, they want to be international. We have a lot of financial state support to the representation of the Russian art internationally. Year of Russia in Spain, it's one of the examples. Yesterday Berlusconi announced Russian year in Italy. So this program of pushing ahead Russian art mostly with political goals, of course, but still it gives a certain support to the Russian art, inevitably. So Russian art became participant of the international art scene, but physically, from my point of view, physically, in terms of presences, in terms of appearance, of the Russian art in different international events or museum institutions, and in the same time appearance, but it's also changed situation, it's appearance of international art in the Russian context, because many of these new Western modeled institutions are interested in importing in Russian context international stars. What it's missing system of relations, of authentic professional relations, which have nothing to do with state political support or with ambition of the big institutions. In other words, there is no Russian artist invited in Spain by the choice, not of bureaucrat of the Ministry of Culture, but of Spanish curator. Most of the art media are very much supporting commercialization of contemporary art. Media are understood as a media of promotion and not of analysis or criticality or deeper understanding of the phenomenon. And unfortunately, there is no particular support to, let's say, independent media, from public structure, from cultural foundations, something what is not giving you immediate response in terms of press dossier, or let's say media success, media prestige. It's out of interest, not only of private foundations, which is, as a final result, it's comprehensible, but also of public institutions.